Hi, I'm Krista. Welcome to my channel. July 22nd is the feast day of Mary Magdalene, and I wanted to do a reading today inviting in the energy of Mary Magdalene with us. As I was meditating and connecting with Mary Magdalene's energy, a message started to come in, and I felt like doing an automatic writing session. So before I started with the card pull today, I wanted to read this message to you that came in. You, my child, you are a star, a literal star being made of stardust. You are the light, the truth, the bringer of hope. Why? Why not, I say to you? Why not you? Are you not God's child? Do you not have God's light within you, within your heart? Does your heart not pulse like the light of God, the same light that pulses in the stars of the night sky? It is you, beloved. It is you who are a star of the world, beaming, glowing for your light to be seen. Remember this when you feel down. Remember this when you feel defeated. Remember, you are God's holy child, God's creation, God's love, God's whole heart. I thought that was such a beautiful message when it came in. Thank you, Mary Magdalene, for sharing that with us. Also, when I was connecting with this reading, I started to hear the song Show Me the Way by Peter Frampton. And in my head, I just felt like that was Mary, like kneeling at the feet of Jesus, like asking him to show her the way, to show her the way through Christ consciousness. And the lyrics in that song I was really drawn to were, who can I believe in? I'm kneeling on the floor. There has to be a force. Who do I phone? I want you to show me the way. And I really felt that, like, especially with this picture here of Mary, like just looking up at God, looking up at the Creator, saying, show me the way. Show me the path of love. Show me how to live like you. And as always, before I start the reading, I want to set the intention. Mary Magdalene, angels and guides, please surround us with your love and light. Please guide us to the information that will help us at this time. And I want to start today with the Mary Magdalene Oracle deck. Surrender, I am in good hands. Angels, I have never been alone. And this is at the bottom of the deck. I also feel called to pull this one too. It says 7. Vision comes from within. Right away, I just get this feeling of compassion and love that you are not alone, you are in God's hands. And I feel that that was reflected in the message, the channeled message that we just heard. And in this card in particular, it's like she's shining from within, like the star is shining, like that light within. I wanted to start with the guidebook. I feel like the guidebook for these cards really help paint a picture. Surrender, I am in good hands. There's a marble statue of Mary Magdalene in the main cave in France. She's reclining with her head tilted back, her neck exposed, and her eyes closed, and yet there's no confusion that she might be sleeping. She's clearly existing very intensely in the open expanse of the universe within her. Her face exudes bliss and pure surrender. And the wording of that, like the universe within her, that's like almost exactly how that channeled message came through of you're made of the same thing as the stars are made of. Like you are the universe. The word surrender in the spiritual context has been confused with relinquishing power over to someone else or something else that's separate from us. Surrender in Mary's gospel means letting go of the egoic desires and stories that are separating us from the radiance of true love. The soul says in Mary's gospel, what binds me has been slain, and what surrounds me has been destroyed, and my desire has been brought to an end, and ignorance has died. This is the experience of surrender. All 7 powers of the ego have died, and what remains is the love the soul knows completely. Love comes from within. Surrender is when we stop our constant search for love to arrive from outside of us, from someone else, or in the validation of a loved one, or from a career or an accomplishment we think will cover us in adoration. Love comes from within. Surrender is the bliss that Mary embodies of knowing at all times and in all places that she is in good hands. This card represents the story of after the crucifixion and Mary is crying. They took Jesus' body away, and she's obviously very like upset and distraught, and she hears a voice, and the voice says, "Why are you weeping?" And she tells that voice, like, "I'm weeping because they took Jesus' body away, and I don't know where they've taken him." And then she hears the voice again, "Why are you weeping?" And she realizes that it is Jesus speaking to her. And it's like in that moment of utter grief and desperation, like she realizes that she's not alone and Jesus is with her. And the guidebook says, "This moment is the memory that it's often when we're at our most human, bereft, heartbroken, and vulnerable that the angels can finally be heard. This moment is the memory that the energy of love is the bridge between worlds." And I feel like what Mary Magdalene is trying to remind us today with this reading is those times when we feel grief and heartache, those like difficult times in life. I feel like those times can either bring us closer to God or make us drift from God. Because when other emotions come in, like anger and frustration, I think there's this human tendency to like put that blame on God. Why did you do this to me? I think there are things that happen and we say, "God, how could you let this happen? Like, how could you let this happen in my life?" And I think when we think like that, it causes a separation between us and God. I feel like Mary Magdalene in this reading is trying to tell us that like when something happens that we can return back to God, that we can return back to love within ourselves and that we don't need to go outside of ourselves to find the love of God. And because God is within ourselves at all times, God is always there. God's love is always there. And I feel like it's hard to remember that concept when we're going through something really difficult because it can create that disconnection. Like the anger and the frustration can create that disconnection from God. And it's not that God isn't there, it's just in that particular moment. Just like Mary, when she was just overcome with grief in that moment, like God is saying, "Mary, why are you weeping?" But she can't hear him. And he has to say it over and over again. And sometimes we are just so down in like the muck of life. The energy is so dense around us, like a heaviness is around us that we're not letting things get in. Like we have created like a block around ourselves. And Mary is giving me this image of like being covered in rock. And it's not that that exterior has to be chiseled away. It's more of melting the exterior from within. Almost as if like the love in your heart is lava and it spews out and like warms the rock from the outside and it just like turns into fire and like burns away rather than it slowly being like your heart slowly being chiseled free. And I feel like that's her main message today is to remember that you are one with God, to connect to your heart space, to remind yourself of this and to connect to your heart space when you're going through something difficult, to like feel God inside of yourself as a reminder that you're not alone. The Mystic Rose, compassion, devotion, humility, humanity, grace. And in this card, it's showing how it was just feeling of like going inside your heart to feel the love of God, to know that you're not alone. I just opened right up to the page. It says the rose was a symbol of the goddesses of old, so it's no wonder that when Christianity absorbed large parts of the indigenous Celtic traditions in Europe, the mother goddess Mother Mary became associated with the rose. And Mary Magdalene is also associated with the rose. It's the lineage of the rose, that teaching of Christ consciousness. Because perhaps the reason Mary is so beloved is because she was the only mother goddess who could be worshipped safely, and as such carries with her the devotion and yearning of all those who long to worship the goddess in a feminine form. Mary's connection with the rose is seen in some of her titles, including Rosa Mystica and the Rose Without Thorns. Like those of the pagan goddesses before her, the processions that honored Mary involved walking on rose petals. This is a card of compassion, devotion, and grace. It encourages us to soften toward humanity and to endeavor to see the world and even those who have hurt us with understanding, an open heart, and deep humility, to see that we all carry hurt and are wounded. We have all experienced severing. Mary is inviting you to open your heart to humanity when you most want to close. And that is Mary Magdalene's big message, especially in the gospel, is connecting to love. To remember that we are all God's love. And to be like Jesus, like from the very beginning, like, I want you to show me the way. And Jesus, the way of Jesus is love, unconditional love for everyone. And it's applying love to any situation that we face in life or any relationship. And that is not always easy. It's not always easy. I feel like Mary Magdalene is also trying to give us advice for our time and how to deal with like like certain things that are going on. It's like getting in our head about certain things or getting angry or upset. It doesn't do anything to help that situation. Best thing that we can do to help ourselves and to help humanity is to live our life with God's love. And in particular with that channeled message from the beginning, I feel like that's Mary's way of telling you to have more confidence and to believe in yourself that you alone can make a difference. The message says, you are the light, the truth, the bringer of hope. Why not you? Are you not God's child? Do you not have God's light within you, within your heart? And I really feel like that's represented in this card here. Does your heart not pulse like the light of God? Just like the light is pulsing within her in this card. As if Mary is saying to us today, like, don't underestimate yourself and don't underestimate the power that God's love has and the power it has to change the world. What would the world look like if we all lived like Jesus? If we all lived with love in our heart like Jesus and we treated each other the way Jesus treated people. And I feel like that's what she's telling us, is that the world is capable of this change. And I feel like if you're here at this reading, she's calling you to be a leader in this, in your life, to lead by example, to believe that this change is happening and it's possible. And I'm hearing that saying, a rising tide lifts all boats. And I feel like she's saying collectively, if we all do this, we can all be that rising tide. Like, not everyone has to be on board with the idea, but if there are enough people out there, there will be enough of God's love to lift everybody up, to make that change. I feel like that is her prayer for humanity right now, and that is what she wants for us. And that is like why she's coming through today. And I'm drawn back to this surrender card, and it's the surrendering of how. how is this going to happen? And we don't need to know how it's going to happen, just that it can happen. To let God take care of it, how it happens. And that our focus is just to connect with ourselves, to connect with one another. Wow. Sophia, divine plan, wisdom, intelligence within, destiny. And there's the rose again, the representation of the rose. And I feel like what Mary is trying to say with this card is, like, we've lived in a patriarchy. Like, we've seen how things turn out with living through the masculine energy, and how the masculine energy plays out. And because, like, the feminine was erased, they tried to erase Mary Magdalene from the story. They said she was a prostitute, and they defamed her. And but she was like the apostle to the apostles. Like, we needed that divine feminine, the balance of both. And because it's been unbalanced for so long, Mary's reminding us to bring back that feminine energy of love and nurturing and compassion and kindness, to rebalance everything. And it's almost like she's saying, this is how we're going to do it. Like, it didn't work out the other way, and this is how it's going to come back. This is how everything's going to be rebalanced. It's part of the divine plan. Like, it's destiny for this ascension to happen. The guidebook says Sophia is a Greek word meaning wisdom. Sophia is thought to have been a force present at the time of creation and is often presented as a woman. This turns our patriarchal understanding of a sole male god responsible for creation on its head. In the Bible's book of Proverbs, Sophia says, I was present at the beginning of creation, participating at the side of the Lord in the work of creation. Many scholars and art historians believe that the female figure beside God in Michelangelo's Sistine Chapel ceiling is a representation of Sophia. Sophia embraces the cosmos. She holds the blueprint of creation. Again, it's like right back to that channel message of, like, you are stardust, you are creation. Like, you hold the power of creation within you. It says, rest in the intelligence that exists within yourselves. Trust that you know what to do. And it's just another way of saying you don't need anything outside of yourself, because it already exists within you. Like, to remember that you have that within inside of yourself. Like, you are God's holy child. You are God's whole heart. I think I'm actually going to type up the message and post it in the description box for you so you can have it, like, as a reminder of, like, the powerful being that you are. Well, I'm going to end the reading here. It was a really beautiful message. I'm really surprised by, like, what came out. I had no plan today, and this was, like, really unexpected. I would love to know what you thought about this whole reading. Have you had any experiences with Mary Magdalene? I'd love to hear about it. Thank you for choosing to spend your time with me today. I really appreciate it. I hope this reading has brought some clarity. Until I meet with you in the next reading, have a wonderful and blessed day. Bye.